Okay, welcome to another Pike and Shot battle. This is part of a pair of matches I've hosted for the early English Civil Wars. In this match, I command Parliamentarian 1642 versus Royalist 1642. So the notable thing about this early Parliamentarian list is that its cavalry is extraordinarily bad, and you have to get at least 6 of them. They are average armored carbine pistols. They have no impact capability, whereas the Royalist Cavaliers are impact horse. We can theoretically get a unit of heavily armored horse, the Lobsters, but they're only average, so they still get crushed in impact against the Cavaliers. So instead, it would be best to concentrate on the infantry. We also don't have a bad position necessarily, so this is our side of the map. I wish we had all the hedgerows, to be honest, that protects infantry from flank attacks and nullifies impact horse because it's non-open terrain. But we don't. We do have a hill, so that's something. Get artillery for once, and I'll pile massed musketeers into this forest, along with commanded shot. Then we'll just want numbers, and I think what I'll want is my cavalry in this rough ground here, my infantry in a straight line across, my guns here to shoot over their heads once we can advance. So, with that in mind, grab Pike and Shot, and Pike and Shot on light guns, and raw Pike and Shot. I think I'll dispense with dragoons or light guns. And certainly I have no intention of getting more cavalry. So we might need to keep, say, a unit or two of cavalry back here. So like musketeers and commanded shot into the forest. Although musketeers and pike and shot both display as moderately disordered in the forest, if you look at the actual disorder percentage, pike and shot units are 30% disordered and can only move one square, whereas the mass musketeers are only 22% disordered, which actually makes not a negligible difference should the two units come into melee contact. So, musketeers and commanded shot in the forest, a line of pike and shot across the center, the better pike and shot closer to the hedgerows, which also offer cover from shooting, unfortunately. The raw pike and shot to the side, the cavalry on the far flank, and maybe in reserve. And that's it. Right then, deployment. Well, we'll want our guns up here, and they'll trundle over here and set up. And massed musketeers. And our command shot. Very good. Let's set our cavalry aside for the moment. I think I should want my best infantry, pike and shot with light guns here. I think I only got 2 units of them though. Right, and we'll keep some of our raw pike and shot in reserve. As for the cavalry, they can either push here or stay hidden in this bowl here. I think they should be out of line of sight. Pitch a few of them into this rough ground. But we should, I think, be able to cut off an approach from this direction. Yeah, so I'm hoping to take advantage of the Royalists' lack of muskets for their infantry and to not have my flanks turned by their superior cavalry. Alright, let's see his deployment. Let's see how much he decides to utilize the hedgerows. Oh. Interesting. Hard flank attack. We'll have to see how well we can contain that then. And I think an extra investment into cavaliers, yeah. Lots of veterans. Well, steady pike and shot are basically completely safe from cavalry attack. So if we can maintain that steadiness, it shouldn't be a problem. Gonna slowly send these units around the flank. But I think the rest will turn around so we don't cave in. Right. Not very much infantry at all. So we'll hold here, repel any attack, hopefully, and then while we do so, push a little bit in the center right, and also try to swing as many units around the far right as we can. We might just get bogged down by his cavalry, in which case we'll gradually shoot them down. Especially as if we can get our musketeers into these hedgerows, they'll be protected from cavalry and flank attacks, actually. And in terms of melee combat, the musketeers do just fine against pike and shot. It's not enough pike to really be effective as a melee weapon, it's just for repelling cavalry. So although melee contact is called push of pike, there's just as much shooting of muskets and stabbing with swords and beating each other with musket butts. So when these two units collide in game, in the open, they're effectively on even terms, except that the musketeers get some negative cohesion rules for not having a stand of pikes steadying them out in open terrain. In non-open terrain, such as in enclosures, they're fine. So really, in this kind of environment, without cavalry around, the musketeers are better because they're the same in melee, and they have more firepower. In the open, of course, they're quite vulnerable to cavalry. But, if it were an option, it would make sense to just grab, 10 units of musketeers to fill the center battlefield and push into the hedgerows. But sadly, 2 is the max, and that's what we got to work with. Next turn. If we can make it to the hedge at the same time, we can have some cover bonus as well. I don't think a heavy investment in cavalry was wise. The Royalists, by default, have a ton of points invested in cavalry already. So this leaves them pretty short of foot. We'll need more raw troops to fill in here, so the regular pike and shot can help the push against the infantry. Good, so we'll advance here, hold here, and advance here. And just try to delay on the left and attack in the center and right. Next turn. All right. Let's cut off their advance. And we'll try to cut them off here as well. Okay. So we should have protection from cavalry in these hedges. Doesn't mean that we'll automatically beat them with these tiny units of commanded shot, but it does mean that we should be in pretty good shape to at least delay them, which is all I can ask. I'm going to have this unit start wrapping around. This unit can stand here. Question is, do I want to move to take advantage of the cover of the obstacle, or do I want to stand to take advantage of the movement modifier stationary plus 20%? I think I would like to stand because I want him to feel compelled to come towards me. Well, nothing too serious yet. I'm keeping to the rough because the rough cancels out the impact mounted ability. We'll still lose in melee because we're average and they are superior or above average, but we'll lose slowly. Right, so I had a hiccup with my audio, so I'll just have to talk over the muted recording for just this turn. This sort of firing at long range definitely plays to my favor. So I think he'll be attempting at least to close him for the charge. In melee, we'd be on even terms. At least in terms of POAs, we would both get none. But if If he takes heavier losses on the approach, he will be at a negative combat strength modifier. The hedgerows offer cover from fire, protection from flank attacks, and cavalry, but they do not offer a POA bonus, as in Field of Glory 2, except when it comes to, I believe, swordsmen and heavy weapon troops attacking across hedgerows have their POAs halved. Whereas in Field of Glory 2, the obstacles both have swordsman POA and generally give units plus 25 melee POA, in addition to protection for massed archers and light infantry. So I've kind of trapped myself in a little bit on the right, but we're going to try to keep moving wide around. Yeah, if I move to that tile, I could have a gap open up when my commanded shot break, but it's not that concerning because any targets that the Cavaliers subsequently hit would still be protected by the hedgerows. Yeah, sometimes I'll fire artillery at half arc, even though it reduces my chance of inflicting casualties, because Richard was talking about this in the Field of Glory 2 forums recently, but the bell curve for casualties inflicted by artillery is sort of on the lower end, so even if it says 0 to 30, you're much more likely to inflict 0 than 30. But the main thing is that it causes a negative cohesion modifier. You just stack that with inflicting enough casualties by musketry, and you're quite likely to cause a drop on average troops. And there I have successfully locked in his cavalry, and I make a mistake. I end up moving that cavalry unit in, and because of the priority charge target system, he can charge a unit directly to his front facing within 45 degrees. So in Field of Glory 2, he would have been locked in by those raw pikemen, but here he is not. And I think I made that mistake because I confused myself switching between the 3 games so often. So yeah, good disruption in the center there. So the plan still remains hold on the left and attack on the right, with more cavalry on the way to plug gaps. There will be gaps. And there we have it. I promise next time there will actually be sound. Next turn. They might slip through. Looks like they'll charge. It'll be bad for the commanded shot. Oh, they're standing. Interesting. Gonna get a roll up there, unfortunately. Kind of walked into that, but that's okay. He knows he can't win the firefight, so he's moving up to charge. Bold move. Even outnumbered 2-1 by horsemen, pike and shot units should do pretty well. Danger here is that this raw pike and shot will lose their cohesion test because they're raw, and then the cavalry can overrun them, even charging from rough ground. So this is not a flank attack because they are behind this hedgerow. Too bad for us. Continue this wide flanking movement. So unlike in Field of Glory 2, where from here I could charge this unit, I can't because this unit is 2 squares directly to my front. It's little things that are different like that. Disrupted. Let's put some pressure on with the charge then. I was hoping for a disruption with that extra cohesion roll. So, in terms of POAs, we'll be on even terms in the melee if he charges now, but he'll be at a negative combat size modifier for taking more casualties. It's not really worth the half arc. So in this combat, above average cavaliers, so he gets 25 for true quality, we get 25 for uphill, and his impact mounted didn't count because we're in non-open ground. It's too bad they stayed there. If they'd run off a little further, I would have pushed this unit here to avoid the cohesion check radius, but now we can only hope that we get lucky. I think we will charge. Very good. Double frag. Excellent. And this unit will just lock these veteran cavaliers in place. We would lose the melee eventually, being downhill against superior cavaliers, but with both units severely disordered, we would lose very slowly, in which case he'll be wasting more points on this melee than I am. We'll have our cavalry here take cover in the rough. And this cavalry can just lurk here and see which way they pursue. Might get a flank charge out of it if we're lucky. So yeah, that's the current situation. Next turn. Okay, So that could get dangerous depending on when they stop pursuing. They could turn around and threaten my rear. Do we hold? No. Yep, that makes sense. You'd rather charge than continue to get shot at. We'll try to rescue this disrupted unit by charging my raw unit, which actually could work. And they're frags, they'll go next melee round. This should drag on more or less forever, so I'm not worried about it. Oh, we held firm. Not there. Okay. So, this unit I'm going to have march here in turn. This will not count as a flank attack if I charge this unit, so the corner of the hedges counts as protection. I'm moving them here so that it can march here next turn and prevent this cavalier unit from turning about to threaten our flank. So yes, unlike in Field of Glory, we can charge either this unit or this unit, because this unit is one square to the front within 45 degrees. But I think I would prefer to fire overall. Right. This unit locked in, I can safely move around here. Perfect. Can lock in this unit as well. This unit has exposed its flank to us. I'll keep this unit here, so depending on where these cavaliers move, I can either move here in preparation to get a second flank attack off, or here to just hide. I suppose it's most likely that they'll just flank attack these Pike and shot. I was surprised actually that we're going to lose to cavalry and melee, but he did a good job. It was a bit risky, but he locked in his first unit of veteran cavaliers and then let them slug it out, and they got a bit lucky and they held on and sent a second unit in. So against a individual unit, it's Pike plus 100, and then the cavaliers get no melee pistol POA because it's cancelled out by steady pikes. But they do get troop quality plus 50, Their armor is 33, so it's, let's see, where is it? Up to plus 50. They only get 17, that is to say 1/3, because the armor advantage only kicks in against the 1/3 of the unit armed with pikes. So in a way, it's more like, you can think about it as pike plus 83, with the cavaliers at troop quality plus 50. So we have plus 33 against 2 units, so that gives us a negative combat strength modifier. Although it's not as large as if it were against 2 infantry units, which are larger. But we can at least take advantage of this open flank. Alright, and that's the current situation. Next turn. Yeah, they can fall back from us because they are determined horse, and we cannot fall back from that. Or rather, other way around. We have horse, so they can fall back. They have determined horse, so we cannot fall back. Ouch. Yeah, raw troops are so terrible. We disrupted on impact with a disrupted enemy unit. Oh, very nice. Okay, so we'll break this frag unit. Take cover in the forest. And I don't think I want to move up here, because it would be out of the rough, and it would start exposing our flanks to these units should they turn around. Very good. We'll need to support our comrades here. They might hold now that this disrupted unit is fighting 2 units. And so yeah, this is not a flank attack. Can lock this unit in. There is a danger because this unit has fled here. Oh wait, no, we can zone of control lock them with this unit instead. And yeah, this is not a flank attack, and neither is this, because charging across the corner of the hedges still makes it not open. But we'll charge in anyway to get the numbers. And I think rather than just join in the melee, well, I suppose we lose our center if we let this go on. Alright. We'll see if we can rescue them. Yeah, so note that it makes no difference that we have no pikes. The pikes add cohesion testing bonuses in open terrain, and of course they cancel out melee POAs if they're steady of swordsman, heavy weapon, and cavalry pistols, but they do not, in and of themselves, have a melee POA against infantry. Right, there's the situation. Next turn. We're up 25, but we haven't pushed to 40 yet. Good, they held on. Even better. If he survives one more turn, he might be able to get a bit of a roll-up going here. But I don't think he will. No, 46. There we go. That more or less went to plan. So I did have a game started as Royalists as well, but my opponent might have abandoned it. It's not the same person, someone else. So I might have to host another. I've also hosted another as a Cornish Royalist list, which is a different twist on it. But basically, as Royalists, you need to try to break through with cavalry on the flanks before the infantry action can get too advanced, because Royalist infantry, being short of muskets, really just can't stand up to Parliament's infantry. Especially at this stage. Later on, things get a little bit more even in terms of the Royalist infantry getting more muskets, but also Parliament's cavalry becoming more accustomed to charging with pistols instead of firing with carbines. So to delay on the flank, I put my cavalry in rough terrain as much as possible. I shifted cheap infantry units over to zone of control lock cavalry. My opponent did surprise me by actually breaking a pike and shot unit with a head-on assault of veteran cavaliers. They were just armored and superior, so they were able to do it when he locked them in. But yes, if you have worse melee cavalry and you're facing impact mounted especially, stick your own horse in terrain in a way that they cannot be ignored or bypassed without threatening a flank, but they can fight and slowly lose. And the hedgerows didn't have a huge influence, but they do offer cover from musketry, and they did help me a great deal pushing this right flank, because I had my musketeers with no pikes pushing through this country, and without the hedges, they would have been overrun by horsemen. So, good game to my opponent. I'll throw up some more English Civil War battles soon, and until next time.